Hey, I'm Robert Pearson, and this is Follow the Leader, where I sit down on my lunch break and we talk Bible stuff and how that makes us better husbands, fathers, men in general. Good stuff. So, we're in Proverbs again. Yes, again. A lot of good stuff in Proverbs, and it's kind of scattered all over. We're all the way at the start of Proverbs, chapter 1, verses 2 through 7. Here we go. To know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding, to receive instruction in wise behavior, righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the naive, to the youth, knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire wise counsel, to understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. So, is there anything you notice here? What do you notice? What jumps out at you? What's your gut reaction? For me, for one thing, wisdom seems to be pretty important, if I had to guess. And it seems to be a bad thing to be naive, to lack discretion, to be a fool. Wisdom's ridiculously important, and the lack of wisdom then would be really bad. A wise man will hear and increase in learning. A man of understanding will acquire wise counsel. It's interesting to note that a wise man doesn't sound like an end. It's not like, oh, I'm wise now. I don't have to listen anymore. I'm good. No, because you're a wise man, you're going to listen. You're going to expand your knowledge, your understanding. You're going to continue learning and add and acquire more understanding and knowledge as you go on. Kind of the Socrates method of wisdom is knowing that you don't know anything, and then kind of building from that foundation of the few things that you do know that are the transcendent things in life, or you could usually count on one hand. And the idea is you're always going to be discovering stuff that's important and stuff that's not important as you go on. Increase in wisdom and learning. Like a muscle. Wisdom's kind of like a muscle. Just because The Rock is The Rock doesn't mean he's like, I made it! I can stop working out now. No. He had to work hard to get how big he is, and then he has to continue working as hard to stay that big. You can look up his workout and his diet online. It's preposterous. And that's the thing. Wisdom is like that. You don't get to a point where you can just sit back and go, I made it. We're good. It's constant. It's consistent. You can get stupid if you just think you know everything. That's probably the apex of stupidity, is knowing everything. Air quotes. I did air quotes for those of you that couldn't hear the air quotes. So, who is the audience? In a very direct sense, this is a father writing to his son, is sort of the direct context given both here and a little farther on. In chapter 2 and 3, he starts referencing directly, my son. And, verse 8, right after we finished here, hear my son, your father's instructions. And he sets it in a context of a father sitting down with his son. And so, of course, in a direct context, obviously Solomon's writing this for his son. But in a more general sense, we have older Christians, fathers in the faith, older human beings who've been on this planet longer than us, who know better. Sometimes not even specifically Christians can have some really solid advice just because they've been around longer than you have. And certain things in the world are kind of self-evident when you've got enough life under your belt. And so listening to this wisdom is throughout the book of Proverbs is kind of in a context of, here now, son, here's what's important in life. Listen up. He spends the whole first 2 chapters talking about how important wisdom is, and listen up and pay attention. Finds wisdom. Yeah, he goes. I forgot. He goes all the way through chapter 3 or 4 of listen, my son, this stuff's important. Yeah, they get all the way into 6. He's all the way to chapter 6 before he's finally actually giving practical advice. Everything else is be righteous, don't be an idiot, don't be stupid, stay away from loose women, listen to wisdom. No, seriously, listen to wisdom. Wisdom's important. Listen to wisdom, stay away from loose women. Then finally he gets into chapter 6 and he starts giving a little bit of practical advice and then jumps right back into how important wisdom is. So, then what's wisdom though? That's going to be kind of critical. So what is it? We use this word a bunch of times. You keep using that word, and I don't think that means what you think it means. So we got a couple of things in this passage specifically, discern the sayings of understanding, instruction in wise behavior, righteousness, justice, equity, prudence, knowledge, discretion, understanding, a proverb, words of the wise, they're riddles. And fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. So it sets this foundation for the rest of the book, and it repeats the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, beginning of wisdom. He uses both words going on. So it uses wisdom and knowledge and understanding kind of interchangeably. So there's kind of a bigger concept he's getting at, not just the word wisdom as a specific word, but kind of a general idea of understanding. Common sense is what we would probably use nowadays. Although common sense is so rare, it's practically a superpower, as my good friend Travis West is used to saying. The fear of the Lord lays this foundation that there is a creator God of the universe, and he built the world and humans to operate and to act in this universe within a certain set of guidelines. And God didn't make us robots and automatons that only operate within those guidelines. He created the guidelines, and they always have a natural consequence for doing stupid things and a natural reward for doing a smart thing. Just as an example, if you waste your money gambling, well, you have no money anymore. If you save your money and invest it in something that gives you more money, you get more money. That's just a basic common sense kind of thing. And that's wisdom. And that's kind of my wife and I tell our kids, we call it a God spanking when natural consequences happen. Don't jump on the couch, and the kid jumps on the couch and falls and bumps his head, and we go, that was a God spanking. God allowed physics to punish you for not adhering to common sense. And so fearing God, having a reverence for the Lord and for the world that he created gives you a foundation of some things are going to be smart and some things are going to be not smart. And that sets you up to continue looking at the world in a way of what is the smart way to accomplish this and what is the dumb way to accomplish this. And let's pick the former rather than the latter. I want the first one, not the second one. So wisdom is this common sense that you understand how the world has been designed to work by the Creator God and operate within those guidelines. That you understand that your relationships work better when you commit to a marriage. You understand that your parenting works better when you commit to a marriage. Adhering to God's pattern for marriage sets you up for success in those things. And disregarding it sets you up to have troubles and strife and all the problems that come out of disregarding wisdom. All the trouble that foolishness brings. So, that's kind of a lot of heavy, big conceptual stuff, a lot of big ideas. What's the little idea? What are we going to do differently tomorrow? So what? What's the so what? Why do I care? I don't know. No. The big thing is to use your common sense, really. To understand there is such a thing as common sense, and to be humble enough to look at a situation and go, perhaps I'm not doing this the smartest way. Or maybe noticing in your life you consistently have a problem over and over again. This is something that keeps coming up. Maybe the problem is you. Not that you got problems, but that you're doing something. You're doing an action that is causing you to have a result consistently, and you're just not connecting the result and the action together yet. If you continuously gambling is just an easy one to pick on. If you keep gambling and you keep being surprised why you don't have enough money at the end of the month, well, stop gambling. Gambling is nothing but a tax for stupid people who can't do math. Gambling robs you of all of your money forever. I'm not saying don't ever buy a Powerball, but don't ever buy a Powerball. They're stealing from you. Do you know why? Do you know why that there's $100 million Powerball? Because all of the suckers that buy Powerball bought $100 million of Powerballs. That's why. Actually, they bought more than that because they skim off the top to pay for whatever nonsense runs it. Most states they put it into schools or whatever. But I mean, if the schools were doing their job, nobody would buy the lottery anymore. So it's probably not gonna happen. But that's the point, though. Is look at what you're doing and say, oh hey, I keep having this bad thing happen. Maybe I'm doing something that's causing that bad thing, and then stop doing that. Doctor, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that. So that's how we can apply this. That's what we can look at for our lives going forward, though, is to be mindful that God has given us this book. I love the old adage where the Bible, it's basic instructions before leaving Earth, spells out Bible. And it's this idea that you look at your Bible when you have a confusion or a question or a problem. Google Bible verses about XYZ. Google is my best Bible study tool. When I can't find a verse and I'm like, oh, it's the one verse about something, and you're misphrasing it in your head, just type that into Google, Bible verse, and then what little you can remember about the Bible verse, boom. Just millions, scads of top 10 lists all over the internet that'll hook you up on, oh, okay, here are the right verses I can start reading to kind of wrap my brain around what God's word says about. And then, go through, don't just read it on the top 10 list on somebody's blog and go, I'm good. Get a paper Bible out, okay? It's my good book. Yes, it's wrapped in duct tape. It's awesome. It's my paper Bible. But do something, right? Look it up. Read it in a paper Bible. Look up each of the verses that you find on the thing you want and go, okay, here's God's wisdom about, XYZ, about marriage, about parenting, about work. And, do what you find in here. If you don't follow the blueprints, your building's going to look terrible. And it's going to be broken and busted up. But you follow the blueprints, everything comes out square, plumb, and true. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Godspeed.